Yeah, I want to go over my destiny and heresy because my destiny involves being accused of heresy all the time. More than 10 different denominations, more than 20 different pastors and preachers, more than 5 or 6 elders have all thought I was a heretic. Not to mention the comments I make on YouTube sites and get people to just blatantly say, "Hey, you're a heretic." But my destiny has to do with bringing truths from different faiths and different religions, the true dogma that should be presented. Because initially, when I was raised, they want to talk about the Reformation movement in the U.S. But on back before that, in the beginning of religions, the Roman Catholic Church took over with what is created the word dogma and dogmatic, and the dogmatic teachings of things that don't have proof that of being the righteous thing to do. And so there were departures, and so out of departures, they may have established some dogma, but no one has ever taken the correct dogma from all the different religions like I'm doing. So this is where my destiny is taking the proper dogma from the different faiths, getting the preachers and pastors to agree on it, sitting down with them, maybe even making videos with them in the future. But when I get to the next phase of being able to say, I've talked to this man in this religion and they confirm this belief. And once I get to that stage, I've been studying with pastors and preachers, but pretty soon I will be able to have maybe even videos with them. And so I want to go over the heresy. And the first thing I want to mention is how it's brought in by prophets and teachers. And on my YouTube, I claim to be a lamb. Okay, of the qualifications that I have, being a regular person is one of the qualifications that I have, is being a regular person. And so I don't claim to be a teacher and prophet in the world already. And what you have is established teachers and prophets that present this information. And they present it as if the heresy comes from lambs. But it doesn't. It comes from teachers and preachers, and they slip in unawares, it says, and do this secretly. But I'm doing this open on YouTube, and I'm trying to establish the correct dogma. And so now that you understand my purpose, maybe I won't have such a hard time studying with people, especially in the Church of Christ that I was raised in. They just overhear that you may be studying the Bible, and they start to not tell other preachers to not answer your calls, and they run in their office and get away from me. 2 times I had a preacher run in his office just to get away from me and lie like he had something to do, and then he came back out to talk to people and ran back in there again, and then lie to me about when they're going to be in town, and give me a card that is to a company and not even to themselves, and say, yeah, get in touch with me on this, like it's their cell phone number, and all this misleading stuff they do because they're really afraid to study the scriptures because of how I've mentioned the preaching school. There's a video on YouTube where they say they'll label you nuts, they'll take away your degree, they'll make sure you never preach again, all these things that they threaten you with. So, but I want to go over when you study heresy in the Bible, this comes up, that it's the teachers, false prophets, and that they promise liberty, but they themselves are brought under the bondage of corruption. So, I don't do that. I show imputed righteousness, and I believe that God is love, peace, and joy, and He doesn't have a wrathful image, and that we have a very worthful image of very many imputed archetypes. I have 1,000 words of from the Bible, words that are imputed into us. And so I don't teach that, and I don't believe that, and I'm a regular lamb, so I'm not bringing in heresy and damnable doctrine. I'm bringing in truth. And these people that are established, though, I believe that they have brought in this, and that's the way it's been commentary, and it was done in secretly. They decided to interpret the Bibles and do certain things with commentaries. That's all done in secret. They don't make commentaries publicly like I'm doing. This is a public commentary that's being developed, not a private commentary that we're doing in a closet. I'm trying to get all the leaders to agree on the correct dogma that should be commentary. So, and not just my faith or one faith. Now, the other thing is that even if you're a Buddhist or a I Ching believer or in another country, in another faith, in another reality altogether, you still build this worthless image for us because they put faith in writings and in books and in things that men say, and that you need a teacher, an instructor, and they put faith in that because they're trying to say, hey, you don't know anything because you've never studied this. And so all these different things are like that. And trust me, I've looked into some of the stuff and know what it's about. It's mainly about saying, hey, admit that you're worthless. So that's in all religions and everything. But not to say that Buddhists are bad. I have a painting right there from a Buddhist. I've met two Buddhists, and this is a painting that she does. And so I have friends of all these different religions and even Buddhism. So I know what I'm talking about when I say that they believe they have sin as well, and they believe they have to somehow struggle with this so they can try to promise you liberty, but they themselves are brought under the bondage of corruption. So, but in the Bible, the law of liberty, perfect law of liberty, they say it's the Bible, and you can apply sin to anyone in that case. And I say it's when you look into the perfect law and you use the concordance, the perfect is the love, peace, and joy and God's righteousness that He imputes into us. And you find that when you look up the word perfect, and then when you look up the word liberty, you find to be free from the bondage of corruption. And so the law would be not to allow someone to bring you under the bondage of corruption, but to allow the love and the peace and the joy that's the righteousness that's imputed to bring you out of it. Not a Bible, because the Bible will always show you those deeds that will bring you under the bondage of corruption and not allow you to come up. And they have a redemption scheme that is just lay your faith on something, on Jesus' death, that He's going to cleanse you. And that's not a redemption scheme, okay? It's more of a redemption scheme to understand that you have the ability to change and metamorphose yourself. So, and then their conscience is seared, these spiritual leaders, because as a lamb, if your conscience is seared to sin, it doesn't take much. You know that you do something more than twice, and your conscience would be seared. But for these teachers, it takes a major searing into their belief system. I know because I study with them. And the kind of searing that I'm talking about is how they create a wrathful image for God. And this is the wrathful image picture here. This is out of context. Trust me, this is out of context. But they'll say, we're out to be cast into outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. And the darkness is reserved forever. And it's eternal fire and punishment. And the smoke of torment ascending forever. And they'll use those terms out of the Bible. That's the worst I can find that carves God into an image. And they will make the nature of God that nature, that He's destructive like that. That's not true. That's not the nature of God. And then they will take us and they will carve us so worthless that we were not capable of even knowing truth or anything. We have to have teachers and stuff to teach us and stuff. And so understand that I've gone over most of these points. Now, there is this railing accusation that I have to, that says that they'll make railing accusations against dignities. And so this is someone who's in a high position of authority. Now, these men that I'm speaking of, the preachers and pastors that believe that they are in the high position of authority, they also are not righteous because they admit that they have sinned. Even the local priest, I see him buying booze at the Kroger down here, and with young men at the restaurant and stuff. So you know, they admit they have sinned. And so what I'm saying is they are brought under the bondage of corruption themselves, and they admit that they have sinned. So what I'm talking about, the Bible speaks of a dignity, is someone who is a good person that's put into a place of honor. And the railing accusation, railing is to be resentful and disagree. And I am not disagreeing with anything but the dogmatic teaching, which is without proof. Okay? Dogmatic is without proof, and the dogma is with proof. And so all the preachers will say, yeah, we'll agree with that. But when it comes to their commentary, they want to lean to their commentary, take little bits and pieces to create rapture ideas and destruction of the earth. And this is another thing. I'm against this destruction of the earth. That's why I've got Jesus sitting here with the periodical chart elements at his hands. Okay? Because this was just created 100 years ago. They had not developed this just 100 years ago. They started to develop the periodical chart. So it's not a resentful attitude I have. It's in the spirit of love that I have, and unity of the spirit. And so and that's why I'm meeting with different pastors and preachers from all around, because the one church is everyone. And that's clear in the Bible, that everyone is in the one church. There's one body. And that means that there was one body, there is one body. The people who died are in that one body. The people who are alive are in that one body. And the churches, all those people are still in the body of Christ. And so that's why I'm reaching out to different pastors and preachers, trying to assemble the correct dogma and everything. So thumbs up if you understand what's going on here in this video, and if you paid attention to the end, thumbs up, give a good comment, and be looking for videos where I bring up certain pastors, preachers, the truths that they teach. That's coming soon. I have meetings coming up soon. As long as these people will study with me. It's been 2 years and I haven't been able to get a Church of Christ to really sit down and study. But this is how much they don't want to make an accusation against me. Is I sat down with the elder when I started my study. He didn't say anything, and I left his house, and I was there for 2 hours, and he didn't say anything. He didn't say, he mumbled, a couple of words, and I spoke the whole time. And I've had these other preachers just run away from me in their offices and stuff, trying to get away from talking, because if they talk, they know a railing accusation is going to come against me. And what I'm preaching, like I'm saying, it is closer to righteousness imputed. And so you don't want to make a railing accusation against someone who's establishing dogma and talking about imputed righteousness because of fear of what God might do. So I'm hoping that's why these people fear me. And I'm hoping it's just not that their sins are the reason they fear me, and they're scared that I know something or got something on them or something. Because trust me, the Church of Christ is really not want to study the Bible. I found out of all the religions, they have a hard time studying the scriptures.